Algebraic expressions. This is a review of part 1. In today's lesson, students will review how to evaluate algebraic expressions using substitution. Using what? Very good. So let's review the vocabulary words we learned from yesterday. Okay? The first word that I want to go over is variable. Okay? The variable is the letter. The variable is the what? It's the letter. So read it with me. It says variable, a letter used to represent a number. Okay? Now, something different from yesterday is variable means that it can change. So the number could be any number. And the letter that we typically use to represent that number is X. We use what? X. Okay, that's the letter. All right, so substitution, you can repeat after me. Say substitution. Putting a number in the place of a letter. What do? Putting a number in the place of a letter. And just in case you didn't notice from yesterday, this is a number. The number is 5. I'm putting it in the place of a letter. Okay, do you know what letter this is in sign language? It's A. That's right. Because sometimes the variable can be A. All right? So say substitution. Putting a number in the place of a letter. And another word for letter is variable. It's what? Variable. So yesterday you saw a bunch of expressions. And an expression, read it with me, contains numbers and variables or letters with no equal sign. Does it have an equal sign? No. There is no equal sign in an expression. Okay? So an example like we learned from yesterday is x plus 5. This is an expression. What's the variable? The variable is x. What is the number? The number is 5. And an expression will always have an operation between the variable and the number. So what's the operation here? It's addition. That's right. Okay? Operations can be addition. What's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. They can be multiplication or division. Very good. So let's go over what it means to evaluate an expression. Again, to evaluate an expression, that means using substitution to get a value or an answer for the expression. Okay? So today we have a different example. And it says, evaluate the expression if x equals 4. Now we have this fraction. Okay? It is a fraction. It says 24 divided by x. What does it say? 24 divided by x. This is a way that you can represent division. Again, a fraction bar means division. It means what? Division. So this is what this means. 24 divided by x could also be written as 24 divided by x. A third way to write this problem is 24 divided by x. Okay, all right. So basically, it is saying, if you take 24 and you divide it by x, do we know what x is? What is x? It tells us if x equals 4. Okay, so we're going to have to substitute x. Okay, that means we're going to put 4. 4 is the number. We're going to put it in the place of the letter. All right? So over here, I'm going to erase this now. I can say, okay, well, what that's telling me to do is take 24 and divide it by 4. Isn't that what it's saying? 24 divided by 4. Now, we ask ourselves, how many times do I skip count by 4 to get to 24, right? How many times? This is saying 24 divided by 4. And we can say 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So how many times? It's how many times? Okay, the answer is 6. Yeah, 24 divided by 4. And in algebra, you will most often see division represented as a number with a fraction bar divided by another number. You will no longer see long division written like this. So today we're going to be looking at what happens when we evaluate expressions that include multiplication and division. Okay, so this expression right here says 7 in parentheses x. What does it say? 7 in parentheses x. So this means multiplication. Whenever you see these parentheses, it means to multiply. Now, you do not actually need parentheses here. It could be that 7 and x are touching, okay? Because whenever numbers touch, it means that they are married and they are one, okay? So they're being multiplied. But I'm going to put the parentheses just to show you that this means multiply. What does it mean? Multiply, okay? And as you saw in the example, when you have a fraction bar, this says negative 24 divided by x. The fraction bar tells you to divide. What does it tell you to do? Divide. So we're going to be substituting some values that are actually negative integers, okay? So that's what's different from yesterday. So what happens when we say, well, x is negative 2, and we want to multiply 7 times x? So we need to put negative 2 in the place of x, and then we get 7, and the parentheses tell us to multiply. We multiply it by negative 2. Okay. So now this says 7 times negative 2. Now you have to remember a very important person, and his name is Bob. Remember that a negative times a positive is negative, okay? So whenever you have different signs, because that's a positive 7 times a negative 2, what do you think the answer is? Yes, it's negative 14, okay? So make sure you circle that answer. So let's keep going down this algebra table. 7 times x when x is positive 4. Okay, well we say 7 times a positive 4. So positive times positive is positive. You remember that? When you have two positive numbers, the answer is positive. So what is 7 multiplied by 4? It is, what is it? 28. That's right. Okay. And last we have 7. And we have to multiply by a negative 6 because we're going to put negative 6 in the place of x. So we'll say 7 times, in parentheses, negative 6. Okay. So we know that negative 6 times a positive 7 is negative. It's negative what? What's 7 times 6? 7 times 6 is negative 42. That's right. Negative 42. Okay. Go ahead and get that down. Okay, so let's look at the expression negative 24 divided by x. What did I say? Negative 24 divided by x. Well, first we're going to plug in a negative 2. And when I say plug in, I mean substitute. What do I mean? Substitute. What is substitution? Say, substitution. Putting a number in the place of a letter. Okay? So we're going to do negative 2. We're going to put it under negative 24. So this is going to read negative 24. This fraction bar says divided by negative 2. Okay. What happens when you're dividing negatives? Remember, negative divided by negative is, okay, you have a negative and a negative, okay? When you put them together by multiplication or division, they make positive. So we have negative 24 divided by negative 2. How many times can you skip count by 2 to get to 24? Anybody know? It's positive 12. Very good. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay, so let's try the next one. We're going to start with negative 24 on top. Then, in the place of x, we're going to put what? 4. So, negative 24 divided by positive 4. All right, negative 24 divided by positive 4. We know when we have different signs and we're dividing. Okay? When you have different signs, the answer is going to be negative. Whenever you have one negative, it's going to make the answer negative. Because look, a positive times a negative is negative. So when we have negative 24 divided by 4, we know the answer is negative. But what is 24 divided by 4? How many times can you skip count by 4 to get to 24? 24 divided by 4. Remember, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. It's 6. So the answer is negative 6. Okay, last one. So this actually is in the fact family. We have negative 24. But now what are we going to substitute for x? We're going to put negative 6. Okay. So now we have a negative divided by a negative. Say a negative, say it. A negative divided by a negative makes positive. Very good. So we know the answer will be positive. What is 24 divided by 6? Remember, fact family is 24, 6, and 4. So 24 divided by 6, or negative 24 divided by negative 6, is positive 4. Okay, so go ahead and get this down.